Hello everyone, how are you? Finally, we get the chance to read The Diary of Anne Frank, drama by Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett. Before we start, I want you to know about The Secret Annex. In July 1942, Anne Frank and her family went into hiding in a small attic area hidden behind Otto Frank's office. The entrance to the area, which they called the Secret Annex, lay behind a movable bookcase. It was in these close quarters that Anne Frank, her family, the Van Dams, actually Herman Van Pels, his wife, and their son Peter, Otto Frank changed their names when he published Anne's diary, and Mr. Dussel, actually Fritz Pfeffer, lived fearfully for 2 years, hoping and praying for liberation. The Star of David. Point out the yellow star shown in the image. Between the 17th and 19th centuries, the star became associated with the Jewish faith, although the symbol itself dates back to ancient times. Some people think that it represents the shield of David, which is a sign of God's protection. David was the Israeli king who united the kingdom of Israel during his reign from about 1000 to 962 before Christ. The star is seen on synagogues, the flag of Israel, and Jewish tombstones. During World War II, Jews were forced to wear the star to enable the Nazis to more easily enforce their policies of segregation and persecution. Queen Wilhelmina. In line 453, Anne explains happily that her father has brought her a photograph of Queen Wilhelmina. Queen Wilhelmina ruled the Netherlands from 1890 to 1948. When the Germans invaded, she left for England with her family and her cabinet for the duration of the war. She ruled in exile, broadcasting messages to her people urging them to give up hope that they would soon be liberated. Swiss neutrality. Anne tells her father that his plan worked. People thought the family had escaped to Switzerland. This would seem plausible for 2 reasons. First, Mr. Frank's mother lived in Switzerland. Also, during World War II, Switzerland maintained a policy of neutrality, meaning that it was prepared to defend itself, but would not participate in the war. Consequently, Germany did not invade Switzerland, and it became a stopping point for refugees on their way to other countries. The Allies. The principal allies consisted of the United States, Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and China. These allied nations were at the forefront of the war against the Axis powers, which mainly consisted of Germany, Italy, and Japan. It was the allied nations who first liberated and shut down many of the Nazi concentration camps, including Bergen-Belsen in April 1945. Hanukkah. In 165 before Christ, Judas Maccabee overthrew the Syrians, who had invaded Judea, seized the Jews' holy temple in Jerusalem, and forced the Jews to relinquish their rituals. After repairing and rededicating the temple, Judas ordered a celebration. According to the Talmud collection of scholarly Jewish writing, enough lamp oil was found to keep the menorah in the temple burning for only 1 day. However, it continued to burn for 8 days, thus establishing the Hanukkah tradition, or adding 1 lit candle each night until there are 8. Here comes the big question. What impact will you have on the world? You can make an impact with your actions, with your education, with your experiences. Everyone makes an impact on the world in some way. National leaders or sports heroes may inspire millions, while the rest of us can influence a small circle of friends and family through our actions, our beliefs, or our commitments. However, we can influence a smaller circle of friends and family through our actions, our beliefs, or our commitments. Whether you make your mark quietly or boldly, a life well lived can be a guide to others. What impact will you have on the world? In the play you're about to read, a young girl doesn't realize that the thoughts she expresses in her diary will later influence readers all over the world. Text analysis. Theme. The play you're about to read is based on a diary written by Anne Frank, a teenager who spent more than 2 years hiding from the Nazis. When Anne's diary was published, readers around the world were profoundly touched that, despite all she had been through, she still believed people were good at heart. When the playwrights adapted Anne's diary, they used her belief in the essential goodness of people, one of the work's themes or messages about life. As you read, notice how Anne's thoughts and feelings, as well as the characters, setting, and plot, work together to express the theme. Look for examples of people's actions that express the theme of people's basic goodness. Reading strategy. Reading drama. In a drama, a playwright must communicate all the information about the characters through dialogue or words spoken by the actors and stage directions or directions of the crew and actors. This can be challenging when the protagonist, the main character, is going through internal changes, or when an antagonist, a force in opposition to the protagonist, is something other than a character. As you read, notice how Goodrich and Hackett meet this challenge. In a chart like the one shown, note important information you learn about Anne and about the Nazi occupation. This play tells the story of the 2 years Anne Frank spent living secretly in the attic of a warehouse with her family and several others during World War II. While in hiding, they struggle with the fear that if they are discovered, they will be sent to Nazi concentration camps. Read this drama to discover how the characters adjust to life in hiding. Check the vocabulary. So, are you ready to read? For homework, theme worksheet. Make notes in the chart to show how Anne's thoughts and feelings as well as the characters' relationships with each other support the theme. Reading drama worksheet. Use the chart to note important information about Anne and about the Nazi occupation. MIP diary entry. MIP plays a very difficult role during the years that the Franks are in hiding. She must live with fear of exposure and capture by the police, as well as bear the responsibility for the safety of 8 people. How do you think this experience would have been like for MIP? Write a diary entry from her perspective about a typical day in her life. Maintain first-person point of view. Write 4 complete paragraphs. A sculpture design. Design a memorial sculpture in memory of Anne Frank. Write a plaque for the sculpture that would clearly identify who she was for someone who has never heard of her. Build your monument in a 3-dimensional model using recycled materials. Type a video of yourself showing your sculpture and explaining why you choose the forms that you did and why they mean. It should last 1 minute. Upload it in Classroom. Alright, have fun!